Welcome to the MindGrow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Kathan, and get ready for a deep dive conversation about voice, vibes, and personal growth with one of my favorite humans. Sloane Reali is a singer, a speaker, a vocal coach, a best-selling author, and the host of the Find Your Voice, Rock Your Confidence podcast. For the last 25 years, Sloane has been empowering public speakers, teachers, therapists, doctors, and authors to prepare vocally in their professions, as well as helping her artist clients prepare for television appearances, world tours, and auditions, including American Idol, The Voice, and Disney, to name a few. And she'll be sharing some tips from her own personal growth toolbox that you do not want to miss. Please help me welcome to the MindGrow studio, Sloane Reali. Welcome.
Woo, 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 woo.
And the crowd goes, wow.
Exactly. Oh, it is so good to be here, Stephanie.
First of all, I just want to love on you for a minute because ever since we were able to connect and I shared the stage with you at the Global Vision event that we did, the virtual event, and I listened to you speak and you just like ignited an energy within me. And I am so thankful to have you in my world, first of all. And the story that you shared with me a little bit is so inspiring. And one of the many reasons that I wanted to have you on the show. But I want to dive right into this conversation, which is what inspired you to travel this path into the realm of voice?
Well, nothing is an accident. And I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in divine appointments. And as a child growing up, I did not have a voice. I grew up with a single mom who was also in and out of many relationships when I was growing up. And she herself did not have a voice. Historically speaking, her first language was actually Spanish. But when she started school, there was so much emphasis on learning English. She's from that generation. And I've talked to many friends, colleagues who come from that same generation. And she made a commitment early on, probably as a child, that, her children are going to know English. So, fast forward, my mom doesn't speak very good Spanish any longer because she completely, this is such our language, our first language is such an identifying factor of who we are in the world. And to literally be told and taught and forced that English was what you were going to speak, it was terrifying for a small child. The stories that she shares they're just heartbreaking. They're really sad. But so how that has played into my life, starting with my mom literally letting go of a huge piece of her identity because English is what she needed to speak. And then, growing up as a single mom and many jobs, and she worked for the state of California for a long time, Department of Corrections. That's a whole nother story. My mother was the first female sergeant at Folsom Prison. So
my gosh,
there's some fireworks for you, but we'll save it because we were literally brought up, it was going to be mom's way or no way. She didn't have time, there was no self-care going on with her. There was no margin. There were no vacations. She was just trying to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. But that line of work for any human being is very rough, let alone a woman. And it's a funny but not really. I spent a lot of time grounded on restriction in my room, which in my mind was translating. She'd go work at the prison all day and then come home, and we were now her inmates, and my room was my prison cell.
Right.
So it was a lot of course, rebellion on my part. My design, I'm a cheerleader. I'm a people person. I'm a connector. And I had this adult authority in my life, and many others, teachers, coaches, telling me, Sloane, you're too much. You need to be quiet. You need to dial it down. On my report cards, Sloane talks too much. That's who I was. That's who I am. And so, I guess that's where my inspiration at the time, I didn't realize it, but that's why I do what I do today. That's why I am a voice coach. My whole purpose for being on the planet is to help as many people, young, old, all backgrounds, all cultures, not just access and find their voice, but really step into it and to use it with confidence and belief in themselves and not worried about who they're going to piss off when they speak up or set a boundary.
I love this because it leads right into my next question, which is, what do voice and vibes when it comes to confidence have to do with it? Like, how do they affect what we reflect in our confidence levels?
Well, the voice energetically, it's such a huge place of vulnerability. The power of our words. We have the power to speak life and love into people, or with literally, a handful of words, tear people down. So, just being mindful of our tone, how we're speaking to other people, super simple thing. And this, I don't remember where I got this from, somewhere along my line. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always reading, I'm always studying, I'm always learning. I never get tired of my work. So I'm always learning something new. But, it's simple things like when my kids were growing up, instead of saying something in the negative, don't forget your lunch, don't forget your homework when you come home from school today. Changing that to the affirmative. Remember your lunch. Remember to take your backpack with you, right? Our brain doesn't know the difference. The brain only registers what we are focusing the thought on. And anything negative or a don't or a no in front of that, that's what our brain is going to get a hold of. So,
I want to talk about this for a second and dive even deeper into this, because
love.
as you're speaking about it, I'm thinking, I live with my 7-year-old granddaughter, and I'm thinking about how many times I'm saying that stuff to her. Don't
Mhm.
forget this, don't forget that, don't forget to do this. Like, she's not capable of remembering or something, which I
Mhm.
can see now would lower her confidence.
Right.
So that is a really powerful tip that you just shared. I'm
Mhm.
taking notes, by the way, and I hope the listeners are too, because that is something that we can all do just to
Absolutely.
shift it. Ooh, so good.
Yeah, as a parent, as a guardian, grandparents, um, we don't think about, our words, just just taking a moment, the power of the pause. When you're in a heated conversation or you have to go have an uncomfortable conversation. And I've got, all kinds of podcasts on all these different categories where they're relatively short, but I address all of these in different themes and context. Super helpful stuff that we don't even think about it unless we're having a conversation like this, right?
Right. Right. They just kind of come out of our mouth automatically, like one of those programmed sayings. And you wanted to say it to be helpful. You're saying it to be helpful because you don't want them to forget their stuff.
Of course.
And at the same time, the words that you are broadcasting have immense power that you may not be realizing. And you just brought an even bigger level of awareness to my own broadcast. So thank you so
Well,
very much.
it's tied into, our thoughts are our things. And I love it. I finished your book. Loved your
Thank you.
novella, The Patchwork. What's the title again?
Patchwork Sister.
Patchwork Sister. Oh my gosh, so good. I love how you opened it. I love the story, the thread, and not just your story, but all of your guests. I shared earlier before we jumped on here. I did I binge listened to a ton of episodes going back for months. And heard a lot of our friends out there shout ISN Network, International Speaking Network. Little shout out to Lisa Reed. She's the reason that we've all met each other, and we're all
Right?
on each other.
Amazing. I love her.
The common thread, Stephanie, is this resilience, the
Yeah.
transformation and hope that come as a result. My whole bottom line coming back to, our voice, how powerful you, the listener, you that are listening, if you are in a place where you are just like, I'm ready to give up, I don't have any hope. Listen to me, Linda. All the Lindas in the office and on the show, listen. You have more power in you than you realize. And I think what happens is lots of, as we grow up, life is in session. We have well-meaning parents, teachers, coaches, siblings, whatever, that don't understand the power of their own words, that might not be speaking life and love and good energy into us as we're growing up, or we're under their authority. We take that on when we're young as being true, and we start to believe that we are not worthy, that what we have to say is not valuable to somebody else. And I'm here to tell you, as an authority on the power of your voice, you have more power than you realize.
Mm,
And all of that comes back to truly knowing who we are. Right? When we know who we are, when we know why we're on the planet, when you know what your purpose is here, you are unstoppable, right? I am here today, much like you, Stephanie. We all have been through things,
mm,
traumatic, awful things. I don't know anybody who hasn't. I think there are people who've been through traumatic things. They don't realize. Went through things as a kid I thought were normal. I didn't realize
right.
this was like really bad stuff.
Right.
Until later in life, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I should probably do some therapy for this. But, I guess coming back to, what really getting clear about what lights you up, like you getting those journals out, people, and writing. And if time weren't an issue, if money weren't an issue, how would you be spending your days? What would you be doing in your free time? That's your calling. That's your purpose. Because then the doors open. Then the people show up. Then the support and the energy and the universe and God, whatever it is for you, all of a sudden your phone starts ringing, or you get this weird email out of nowhere. That was in your book,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
All of a sudden the doors start to open, and it's like the universe says, oh, finally, finally, Sloane, Stephanie, you're ready. You're ready to be quiet and listen to what I have for you now.
And it's so amazing what happens when you do show up. And so many times that fear of judgment, especially when you have big dreams. And I'm sure as a singer and person who works with people like your clients who are auditioning for American Idol and Disney and big
Mhm.
dream stages like that, when we share our dreams with others, sometimes there are people who are well meaning, like you said, but who it is their default setting to say, well, that's a great dream, but you better, go get those applications in at Walmart because you are going to need to make money, or you're not going to be able to achieve that level of success. And it's not because they don't believe in you necessarily, but they may not be able to see that because they could never see it for themselves. And
Oh,
I used to really own all of those things, all
mhm,
of those you're never going to make it things.
mhm.
Do you have any words of wisdom for those who might be dealing with that kind of thing, like have big dreams but are afraid to share them or talk about them because they're afraid that they're just going to hear, or they have heard that they're not worthy of that kind of dream.
Well, that's such a great question, Stephanie. The first thing for you, the listening audience, there are always going to be those people. They're everywhere. They're in every corner. They're hiding out. They're unconsciously doing push-ups for the next person that they can tear down or bring down to their level. And I mean, I have birth family. My family of origin, most of them land in that category. And you hit it on the head, Stephanie. It's because they can't hold that place for themselves. And they can't hold that place for themselves because they were affected by their parents, grandparents, teachers who tore them down. This is generational stuff, people. This is generation, and it comes down through the lineage. And, I'm able to be here on this call with you right now, sister, because I am the generation that broke a lot of this off.
Yes.
Broke it off of for my own self. I broke that pattern of belief or disbelief and tearing down for my own children. I'm blown away. I've got 3 kids right now. They're young adults, 21 to 28 years old. And, I was so afraid that I was going to pass on to them the brokenness, alcoholism, addiction, mental illness. I was terrified as a parent that I was going to pass that on to my kids. And, knock on wood, so far, so good. I have an incredible relationship with all of these young people, these individuals. They're their own people. It was a lot of work. I've done a lot of work, a lot of therapy, counseling, 12-step work. I've had to let people go, and this is really, this is very scary, because what will your life look like? What will your life look like if you do follow that dream and you don't have the support of people who should be in your corner? Our parents, our family, our siblings, they should be in our corner. But you know what, people? The family that we were born into is not always our family. And I don't know, you might have mentioned this in your book, maybe, Stephanie. Our family as adults, as grown adult people, are the family we choose. It's the community that we choose. So
Absolutely.
I can't say enough about plugging into a community of other like-minded people. Because when you're in that community, that becomes your family. That becomes your family of choice. You are not defined by your family of origin. And that is okay. And I want to give all of the listeners right now permission to let that be okay. You are not a bad person if you have to separate yourself from family or friends, lifelong friends. There are a lot of people that are not in my life any longer, that were a big part, huge chapters of my life that are not in my life anymore. They didn't edify me. They didn't build me up. They tried to tear me down. And I set a boundary and said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm following my dream with or without your support.
Yes. And I'm so glad you did. Because now
Right?
you're
Life
here
is
with
good.
me.
Life is fun. Look at us. We're changing the world, girl. One listener at a time. We're
It is
moving with
so fun to have given myself permission to be this voice, to use my voice, that you are using your voice and that you gave yourself permission to do that. And I hope every listener out there gives themselves permission to not only find their voice, but use it in a way that can make an impact. And maybe that impact is just on you, or just on your family, or just on breaking that generational curse that you might have going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it will happen. You just have to decide, oh my gosh, this is so juicy and good. Ah, my
Well,
next question for you
oh, yes, yes.
is, what was the best piece of advice that you ever received?
Oh man, that's hard to answer because the first person that pops up when you ask that question is Jack Canfield, the Chicken Soup for the Soul books.
Yes, yes.
He lives in Santa Barbara where I live. And oh my gosh, this was even before I had finished my degree at UCSB and gotten my teaching credential. He was just getting started, and he was like teaching at the Wake Center. It was like adult education, and there were maybe 50 people in the room. And I had not started my vocal coaching business yet, and I was newly married. I can't remember if I had any children yet, but it was early, it was a long time ago. And I asked him that. I said, what piece of advice would you give someone wanting to start a new business or whatever my question was? And his response to me was something to the effect of, you know, whatever it is, whatever my question was, I can't remember. He said, every day that I don't take a step forward toward that dream or that goal or that idea, a little piece of my soul is going to die. Right? I know.
That's
I just
deep.
got a chill. And it was just it at the time I was like, oh yeah, whatever, right? I was all kind of still full of myself, and I think I was selling real estate in Santa Barbara, trying at least, and trying to make a career shift. But what I really wanted to do was teach, and I wasn't into the music or voice just yet. But when he said that, it was like, whoa. And then the more I chewed on it and the more I thought about it, and as I've continued my life and my career in lots of different chapters, he was absolutely right, right? If not now, then when? And especially now, people, oh my goodness, we don't know if we have tomorrow. Look at the last 5-10 years. All of it. We're not going to get into politics or any of that. But the climate and the weather and the natural disasters, and I'm in Southern California. We're just recovering from these wind events and these fires down south. And if not now, then when, friends? Don't wait another day. But the other piece of advice really is knowing who you are. Right? Here's a little secret gem. The hint for knowing what your purpose on the planet, what you're here to do. And I don't care how old you are, whether you're 4 years old, you're 84 years old, you are here for a reason. Stephanie and I are here for a reason. And hopefully we're modeling part of our purpose and why we're here right now for you, the listeners. But whatever your natural gifts and talents are a huge hint to what you're here to do. So, for me, growing up, I was always teaching something. I was, my siblings were my students. We had little play desks, and I'd give little handouts, and we have our crayons. And, from early on, I was always teaching something. So, journaling, again, I love journaling because you really sit down and ask yourself these questions. What do I love doing? How would I spend my days if I didn't have to go get that paycheck? Right? That's a pretty good indicator of or at least something to give you direction of what to pursue. And I love you're big on mentorship, Stephanie. And community and hanging out, and we've got so many awesome groups on Facebook, and even in your own community, the adult education, continuing education, the city colleges, because what sucks and just breaks my heart. People, adults, our young adults, our kids who went to school for 4 or 5 years and spent tens of thousands of dollars on an education that when they got out, they decided, I can't do it. I have a client right now. She's a graduate of UCSB from the psychology department. Finished. Like, she just graduated this last June. And when she went to go apply for work, she went to her parents. This is 20-something. She said, I can't do it. I don't want to do this. She does not want to be a psychologist. She wants to go to cosmetology school and write music. She actually has a whole EP. That's why she's coming to me. She wrote a whole album of songs that she wants to go and perform and share with the world. So going to school for 4, 5, 6 years is not always the answer, friends, unless you are passionate about what you are studying.
Man, those are some good tips because
Mm.
I think I felt that to my very soul. There's so many times that I was chasing, thinking I need to learn this or learn that or whatever to
Yeah,
make this, that, find that success factor,
yeah.
and every time I tried to do that, it turned out to be an unfulfilling step. I was not fueled by fulfillment like I am now, which I absolutely love.
Mhm.
Sloane, I can't believe our time is almost up because
Oh, no,
our time
no,
flies so fast.
no, no. I just want to add, this work, it's an inside job, friends.
Hmm.
What you just said, searching outside of ourselves and all the education and the courses and the coaching, you're not going to find it out there. It's in you. It's in your soul. It's who you are. It's how you're designed. And it's an inside job.
Sloane, where can people go to learn more about you and what you do?
Oh, thank you so much. I think that the best and easiest place to go for resources and information is going to be the website, Vocal Coaching by Sloane. And there are two specific things when you get there. There's a new drop-down menu. I have a few, like some really cool free gifts for you, the listener. There's a little I am breathing meditation. I take you through the alphabet A to Z. There's a little vocal tutorial. There's a free singing gift. So it's all free. But if you want to do a complimentary session with me on your voice, you can also schedule that or send me an email.
Oh my God, that is
Yeah,
so generous of you.
yeah,
Thank you so
complimentary to
much.
the mic. Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I'm here for.
Listeners, take her up on that. Take her up on that. I'm telling you right now. That's a really amazing and generous offer. Thank
Oh, you're
you.
so welcome. Well, it's another way to get this information out there, right? I've switched from being a go-getter to being a go-giver. And I find the more that I give and the more I share my expertise, my knowledge, it comes back. Everything is an energy exchange, right?
You
You
are
give, the more that comes back.
amazing. Thank you
You're
so much
amazing,
to
girl.
thank you so much to our special guest, Sloane Reali. Please go visit her website at Vocal Coaching by Sloane. That's SLOANE.com and get those free gifts that she offered. Thank you for joining us here on the MindGrow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. Thank you to the listener for tuning in today. I am your host, Stephanie Kathan. This episode has been brought to you by Patchwork Sister, a fiction novella inspired by true events. You can go grab your copy at the Vibe Tuner shop on Etsy. And until we meet again, be sure to hit that subscribe button and keep shining in your brilliance. We love you. Thank you, Sloane. I love you so much.
Oh, you too. Big virtual hugs coming through for you, sister.
Bye-bye, everybody.